Tails will be we turn the background music off. Flip. Okay, that's heads. Now we do 2 out of 3. That's tails. That's heads. Alright, this says to keep it on. What I'll do, though, is I'm going to lower it just a tad. There we go. Return to game. Chapter 7, The Neighbors. I got an achievement. Chapter 7, Escalation. Seated at the helm of one of your new airships, you grasp the armrests and let your consciousness spread through the whole ship. You feel the ground beneath your 2 landing skids, the breeze across your deck, the sheer vulnerability of traveling to the Magisterian Empire unarmed. You will the airship to lift off, and Ackerton falls away before you. You rise steadily, seeking to ascend even higher than the reach of the negative C.
I've got to hand it to you. This is pretty fun.
Toll's voice echoes in your mind. You can see her own airship rising alongside you. When the Queen asks whether you would like anyone to escort you on your diplomatic mission, you chose Tal. You've always trusted her to have your back in a fight. Maintaining divination-powered links with Tal in the airship isn't easy, but you're an experienced diviner now. You crest the negative sea, and see the ocean of black stretched out before you to the horizon. Dark thunder clouds skate along the surface of the negative sea. The dark gray fog not nearly so otherworldly as the black and purple miasma beneath. Still, higher storm clouds thunder and strike the negative sea, with lightning scattering electricity through the dark cloud in an uneven burst. It reminds you of the last time you flew close to the negative sea, returning from the sunken academy. Of course, then you never flew so high. Hard to believe that this was a little more than a year ago. You cast your consciousness down to catch a glimpse of Ackerton, but the town is just a tiny puzzle of buildings far below.
I'll take point,
Tal communicates.
If I get fried by lightning, go a different way.
Haha. Tal deftly navigates the storm clouds with her airship, leaving you to wonder how she managed to pick up piloting so fast. Maybe her rapport with Noodle somehow helped her bond with other automation-powered devices. At any rate, you struggle to keep up with her. A divination would have been so much easier, you think, but the Magisterians seem to have put up some kind of defense against scrying in response to the skirmish in Ackerton, so your diplomacy will have to be in person. After a few hours of darting between thunderheads, you emerge to the other side, the first diplomat from Irina in 2,000 years to visit the Magisterian Empire. The only immediate difference you can see is that the green field and vineyards are tended by rusty automata instead of people. The ever-present storm clouds above are familiar from your side of the negative sea, as are the mountains to the north and far to the south.
So, now what?
All thinks at you.
Find a farmer and say, take me to your high magister?
I bet the capital is still where it was 2,000 years ago, you reply. This way. As you head east, you encounter a pair of Magisterian airships on the horizon. They contact you with a divination that sounds like it's blasted from inside of your skull. Caru Imperiosa. You struggle to understand the language that diverged from your own 2,000 years ago. What is your business?
We're on a diplomatic mission,
you shout, bracing yourself for the next blaring message. You sense Tal's headache as well.
We seek peace.
There's a moment's pause. You think some kind of conference must be taking place. Just when you wonder whether you've lost your magical connection, the voice blares in your mind again. Sulant on Magigant Woo.
I think they want just me,
you think to Tal.
I don't want to leave you,
Tal insists.
I think it might be the only way, you say. If I'm not back in 3 days, send in the cavalry.
Tal turns her airship around.
Noodles is counting on you. We all are.
Tal departs, leaving you to proceed with the Magisterian capital with your 2 escorts. As you fly over the Magisterian capital of Phaedra, you feel a sense of wonder at their enormous city. It stretches out as far as you can see in all directions. How many Edras could fit in it? 15? 20? Sinuous architecture speaks of an advanced civilization that could easily use magic to shape the world around it. Your excellent view is not from any normal vantage point, but through one of the mirrors in the Magisterian vessel that picked you up. The airship contains 5 Magisterian soldiers, each wearing black armor and a gray cape. Around the interior of the vessel are mirrors showing at different views of the outside world, although you gather these need not be from the point of view of the ship itself. The soldiers keep a wary eye on you, but do not try to engage you in conversation. You ask a few questions, but get no responses. Thanks to your study of the ancient tongue that your languages had as a common ancestor, you can more or less figure out what they're saying to each other, but it's mostly uninteresting orders of the kind you might hear on any ship, or at least any ship that was flying and had magic mirrors. You try asking questions in the ancient tongue to see whether they understand you, but the soldiers just laugh. Finally, a ship sets down on the roof of the Magisterian Palace. Most of the crew stays with the ship, but 2 halberd-bearing soldiers prod you out the door and towards an archway that leads into the palace proper. As long as your hands aren't bound, it doesn't count as being captured, you think cheerfully. The soldiers finally escort you to a grand amphitheater-like chamber with tiered seats in a semicircle occupied by a variety of silver-haired men and women. Many of them look oddly young despite their gray hair, but some are quite old and wizened. They each wear a red sash that must signify some kind of official position. The room is kept somewhat dark. Feeble magical lights shine from the chandelier above. A red carpet extends from where you stand to a circular dais in the middle of the chamber. There, an unusually tall and lanky man over 7 feet tall awaits you with his arms clasped behind his back. The man's snub nose and grave expression suggest an imperious and disapproving air. Like the seated officials, his hair is gray, and his face suggests he's in his 50s. He wears a black uniform with gold epaulettes and a gold sash indicating his office. You recall reading about the Magisterian government. It's a republic, and you think this must be the Senate. The High Magister was once a judge of the highest court in the land, but you think over time this grew to be a position more like that of a ruler. Soldiers to either side of you escort you up to the center of the chamber, where the High Magister awaits. "Ehhhhh, Megerst Ori," the High Magister says. You feel your anti-divination ring getting warm, and you realize that the High Magister is trying to use divination magic to translate his words from Magisterian. You slip off and palm your ring so as to not reveal you have it. Indeed, your guess is right. The High Magister's next words are intelligible. "We've heard so much about you, and to tell us what you were doing on our side of the negative sea." "I'm on a diplomatic mission," you say. "A diplomatic mission?" the High Magister says. "Perhaps, although that is what a spy would say as well." The High Magister turns to the Senate and says something in the same language he originally addressed you in. Because it's similar to the ancient tongue, you can tell that he's relating your conversation so far to the Senate. You gather this indirect communication is intentional so that he can choose how to present your comments to the Senate, but putting your ring back on won't change that. "We've noticed your astonishing rise to power," the High Magister says to you. "It is most unusual. How did you come to have such magic?" "I just discovered some books in an ancient library. I'm a saint chosen of Abraxas who casts miracles in his name. I believe I am a chosen one, destined to save the kingdom. I'm just talented, I suppose." I just discovered some books in an ancient library." The High Magister suddenly looks very interested. "Where?" Give him the correct location of the Sunken Academy. Give him a fake location for the Sunken Academy. Refuse to answer. I have no reason to not give them the correct answer. You give the High Magister the correct location for the Sunken Academy, hoping its destruction was complete enough that they won't be able to retrieve anything of interest. "I like that you're willing to cooperate," the High Magister says with a tight smile. "Perhaps we can peacefully do business after all. The Magisterian Empire has long wished to retrieve the spoils we hid away so long ago. Much was lost back then." Though the High Magister doesn't say so explicitly, you gather that the Old Kingdom knew magical secrets that the Magisterian did not. That's interesting. "Our spies tell us that you have begun to build factories all around your kingdom that drew their powers from the Dark Sun itself," the High Magister says. "Why so reckless? Why so sudden? Do you not understand that such magic threatens to get out of hand and destroy you, and perhaps us as well?" "We were just trying to defend ourselves from you. I want to bring back the wonders of the ancients. We saw your scout ships and wanted to create our own wonders."
We were just trying to defend ourselves from you.
The High Magister appears to translate for the benefit of the Senate. You don't speak Magisterian perfectly, but from what you can tell, it sounds like he's claiming that Aeoner wishes to be as strong as the Magisterian Empire, leaving out the part about self-defense. The murmurs sound disproving.
A small kingdom such as yours would need unacceptable levels of magic to truly contend with our power,
The High Magister says.
Surely it would be better for the world if such a build-up were unnecessary, if you were part of the Empire. Who uses magic in your kingdom?
The High Magister asks.
We've had conflicting reports.
Our saints and hierophants use miracles, but that's different. Our saints and hierophants all use magic. I have an apprentice. I can't think of anyone who can use magic. I can't think of anyone who uses magic.
You say that you can't think of anyone who can use magic. Not a single person,
The High Magister says.
More's the pity for your kingdom. Just one final question for you then.
The High Magister says.
Our spies tell us that your church has, until recently, taught that all magic is a sin. So why do you use it? Do you not believe in your own religion?
I believe the church is wrong. Abraxas wants us to all to enjoy creation, including magic. I believe the church teaches what they think they must to keep magic out of evil hands. I do not know much about religion, really. I like magic. I believe the church teaches us what they think they must to keep magic out of evil hands.
I think the church's teachings are a white lie, you say. If everyone could wield magic, there would be chaos. And you are exempt from the generalization?
The High Magister says dryly.
I believe I use magic responsibly, you say. I don't need to be blessed by the church to be a righteous person.
The senator yells a demand, probably for a translation. The High Magister does so humorlessly, and the Senate responds with displeased whispers. The High Magister asks the Senate something, and is answered with silence.
Senate has no more questions for you,
The High Magister says, though you weren't under the impression they were the ones asking.
You are free to return to your kingdom. Tell them we will consider your proposal of peace.
And how will you convey your decision, you ask. The High Magister smiles.
If you don't hear from us again, that means peace. If we conquer you, well, that's a different kind of peace.
You return to the throne room in Edra to report your mission to the Queen.
It didn't seem to go well,
you admit, as a packed room of nobles and military officials listen in.
They don't like us very much, and they seem to think we're weak. That we must prepare for their assault, the Queen says. I want to be clear. They haven't declared war yet, you say. We can't wait for that,
the Queen says.
We need to decide our own stance on negation magic, the Queen says. I don't think a decision to employ negation will be at all popular. Our citizens still think of it as a dark, tainted magic, but it may be necessary to keep pace with the Magisterians. If we're willing to go further than they are in their destructive power we wield, then we may be able to prove our one advantage in this imbalanced conflict. She sighs. I hate delegating this decision, but I need your advice, Ori. Do the benefits of using negation magic in this war outweigh the drawbacks? They most certainly do not, Blessed Advisor Sam says with exasperation. This magic is considered unholy for a reason.
But the Queen ignores him and looks to you. We should adopt the tactics of the Magisterians who have more experience with this.
Whatever the Magisterians are doing, it's working for them, you say. And who knows how long they've been refining their tactics. Perhaps thousands of years if they never abandoned magic the way they did. Whatever they're doing must be sustainable.
That doesn't follow at all, Blessed Advisor Sam says irritably. Perhaps they're going down the path of destruction and simply haven't arrived at their destination.
I hope you're right, Queen Thecla says to you. Very well. Let us equip our airships with the finest negative energy cannons we could create. That brings us to our strategy for the war, Queen Thecla says. Again, you understand the magics better than anyone, Ori. What strategy do you think best suits them?
Blessed Advisor Sam is unusually silent, perhaps realizing he is out of depth. Since you know the location of the Magisterian capital, you could try a direct push for it in one sudden march. Recommend a defensive strategy. Never attack unless they come into our territory. Suggest lowering them into complacency with a weak initial defense, then cutting them off and surrounding them once they're overextended. Suggest a quick offensive to establish bases on their side of the negative sea, followed by negotiations from this position of strength. Select a blitz to the counter before they realize our pure strength. Let's lure them into a place of complacency, with a weak initial defense, then cutting them off and surrounding them once they're overextended.
We can't expect to ramp up our military to rival theirs right away, you tell Queen Thecla, so let us plan to lose at first. But we should make things easiest for them in a straight line, luring them into overextending. Then we cut them off from their supply lines and close in. I don't like playing games with my subjects' lives, the Queen says. But what you say makes sense. We must plan for losses at first and lull them into complacency. Then we will hit back hard. I wouldn't say it's necessarily playing with people's lives. I mean, it is just the reality of the war that we're getting into. There's not going to be a solution that's going to save everyone. So you kind of just have to figure out what's the best to actually win. In that sense, right? I think that makes the most sense from a calculation standpoint. After your public discussion of strategy, the Queen invites you to her bedroom for a more private conversation. It's not the first time she's invited you here, but she only does this for her most sensitive one-on-one conversations. Any romantic overtones are apparently lost on the Queen. Oh, hi, Conway. How's it going, Conway? How are you doing? Also, rude. The Queen sits at her desk. She's wearing a white ankle-length, high-necked, A-line gown that is fancy enough for a wedding, although she was wearing it at a court, as just another elaborate dress. Then again, it will turn out she has weddings on her mind after all. I've come to realize that with war upon us, the danger of assassinations is greater than ever, the Queen says, and unfortunately, my current named heir was just assassinated. You try to work out what the Queen means, and you're surprised you've come to your conclusion. General Talus was your heir? Talus died in his sleep shortly before your scouting mission. Most thought the old man had died of natural causes, but apparently the Queen knew better. I know he was somewhat unremarkable, the Queen says. I picked him long ago. He was the most responsible person I knew. But his poisoning just goes to show that I can't put off my choice. So I'd like your advice. Who do you think should become the heir? You're momently taken aback. That's a rare privilege, choosing the heir. I trust your judgment. You try to think of the possibilities. You yourself come to mind immediately. Then there's Kaz, who has a knack for government. Tal, you trust with your life, but maybe not the kingdom. You're not even sure she'd be interested. I don't know. It's either me or Tal, right? I don't really trust Kaz in this sense. But I also think I do better work as an advisor than I do as, like, normal stuff. I'm gonna say Tal. I think Outrider Tal should be the heir. I think Outrider Tal should be the heir, you say. Have you considered her? No, the Queen admits. She's both clever and likable, you say. She's a hero, and the people sometimes need a hero to lead them. She seems a bit flighty, the Queen says. The more you think about it, the more you're probably picking Tal because she's your friend. Maybe that's not what the Queen is looking for. Who's your next choice? Me. Well, naturally, I think I should be the heir, you say. Who better to lead a kingdom that's rediscovering magic? I thought so as well, the Queen says, but I wanted to see whether you were genuinely interested in the task. I am, you say fervently. The Queen nods. It shall be done. There'll be no ceremony here and now, but when I'm gone, you will rule. She grasps your plan. Promise me you will treat the position with respect and care. I promise, you say. I think I'm going to declare your training complete, you tell Vera a few days later, at the end of the magic lesson in her luxurious apartment. I've told you what I know. The rest is just practice. But I was hoping we could do another project together, Vera says, so whiny you think irritably. I'm not sure I have the time, you admit. I have my duties to the kingdom now. Vera crosses her arms. Fine, I'll do a project myself then, and I guarantee it'll impress you. Vera clutches your arms. So tell me what to do. Best for you is going to the front line to fight. You could work on something to heal the sky after this is over. You could work on combating the environmental damage we're doing with negation magic. You could work on developing more powerful airships for our forces. Just stay out of trouble, will you? Combat the environmental damage we're doing. Vera frowns. And not help with the war? I want you to do something good for the future, you say. Your future. Wars come and go, but we only have one world. Vera nods resolutely. All right, then. I'll find a way to clean up the war's mess for the future of the world. You think she's really still doing it just to impress you, but that's neither here nor there. If she does eventually come up with a solution, you will certainly be impressed.
Before the first battles of the war begin, another way of helping the war effort occurs to you. With your alchemy set, you could create a decoction that, if combined with the blood of dead allies, greatly increases the strength and stamina of the surviving forces. It seems natural to you to use the blood of the fallen in that way. They don't need it anymore, but others may be more irrational about this. I wouldn't risk alienating the soldiers with this tactic. Distribute the decoction while the soldiers think it is herbalism, not magic. Personally extol the virtues of this decoction to every lieutenant in the force. Let's just think it's herbalism. You create as much of the mix as you can, working for days, then have it distributed indirectly via a chain of courtiers to the army's lieutenants along with the instructions. As much as possible, you try to get the courtiers to give up the impression that this is one of the orders from an officer high up, and they had best not question it. Thankfully, you manage to avoid leaving any traces of intervention. Rumor has it the soldiers just think of your decoction as one more tool in their medkits. You think it would be great to keep the battles ahead. Gained kingdom power. How's my kingdom power? Really good ancient history. I have really good subtlety. Fighting's okay. Charisma's okay. Really good relationship with Thekla. Sam, bad. Don't care. Church, bad. Don't care. Cost, good. Verifying. Kingdom power, 10. Fantastic. Awesome. When the Magisterians roar into your kingdom, they find your border towns even less well defended than they expected, with only a handful of airships in each that are quickly routed. The Magisterians spread to take out the border towns along the Negative Sea. Meanwhile, all of the residents of these towns who could be convinced to evacuate have done so, fleeing to the town of Mediton under the leadership of Mayor Kaz. Your forces quietly gather just beyond the Magisterians' reach, waiting for the Magisterians to overextend themselves further. You just hope this plan works. You already have a lot of angry refugees on your hands. How's my vilification looking? I'm 50-50, but my kingdom power is 12 now. Some soldiers from the front are returning from the front report that they could feel tremors in the ground throughout the fighting anytime one of your airships fired its negative energy cannons. Could the weapons be producing shockwaves so powerful as to shake the earth? You don't understand it, and it unsettles you. Shortly after your discussion with the Queen, you're up late in your room in the palace, studying a map of the current state of the war when you get a knock on the door. Your bird, Wren, hides under the bed and mews fearfully. Répondez porta. Your golem inquires in a low voice from beside the door, reaching for it. Sure, you say. Bramp opened the doors, and you see it's Sam. He's wearing his white Inquisitor tabard, and he has his mace drawn. His lips are pursed with stern determination. Sam, you say, baffled that the mild-mannered advisor should be threatening you. You're destroying everything I hold dear, little by little, Sam says. Because of you, the kingdom is now starting to make the same mistakes the ancients did. Someone has to stop you. He grins darkly. I bet you never suspected plain old Sam would be the one to do it. Vos imperatus dominex. Hide and cast divination to determine if this is an imposter. You quickly vault over your bed to hide behind it and begin to cast a divination to better understand what is happening. Styrian gnomai apocalypto genitro. A vision passes in your mind of a shapeshifter morphing into Sam. Next to fake Sam, another shapeshifter morphs into you. That gives you an idea. Wait, it's me, you shout. I tried to find Apothecary Ori, but I couldn't. After a moment, you hear fake Sam tentatively say, Is it really you? Yes, it's me, you say. I don't know where Ori is. You were supposed to kill the queen, the shapeshifter says angrily. I'll get right on that. You lie and you rush past the Sam imposter and out your door. You hear Bram's crashing footsteps follow you close behind. You manage to reach the queen's bedchamber just as you double and the queen are facing off from opposite sides of the bed. The queen is wearing a white shift fancier than most Acratonians' church dresses. Gods, she cries hoarsely as if she's been calling for a while. Negative energy curls up beside your double's body, preparing for a deadly bolt. The queen sees you and her expression turns hopeful. Ori, are you the real one? Your double whirs and you're ready to cast a negative energy bolt at you instead. Vos imperatus dominex, Bram says, catching up behind you. Animate the queen's bed and make it charge the assassin. Electron potens, levita simulacra. You shout quickly, and lightning strikes the queen's bed. It's just enough to distract the assassin and give you one more moment to say, Charge! The giant four-post bed crashes into the assassin, bowling them over and crushing them against the wall, where blood splatters in a grisly fashion. I suppose I was thinking of getting a new one anyway, the queen says with a wrinkled nose. Can you prove to me that you're the real Apothecary Ori? The Queen asks you. Where to think you began? Point out that I've met Bear Bearson. I've met Bear Bearson, you say. Had I known something like this would happen, I would have tried to animate him permanently. That's one very formidable bear, if I recall. The Queen breathes a sigh of relief. That's you, all right? The surviving shapeshifter assassins are arrested and taken to the palace dungeon. There, the Queen's interrogators extract the names of several other Magisterian shapeshifters who have infiltrated your military. You're glad to have captured the assassinations alive. The next day, you meet with Sam in the palace garden just to reassure yourself that he's still alive. Did you really think I would ever do that? Sam says once you describe the encounter with his double. I have made things hard for the church, you admit. We of the House of Sun try to win through non-violence, Sam says. I'm hoping my good example will eventually win you over. Is it working? I doubt it, you say. Well, I'm a very patient man, Sam says. 6 months into the war, while the front pushes farther and further into the kingdom, Farah announces a breakthrough. You hurry to her apartment and proceed to the basement where she shows you a strange metal device consisting of 2 pumps, a large central cylinder, and a funnel on top, all of which is entwined with tendrils of black and purple negation energy. There's a loud sucking sound coming from the top. It puts negative residue back in the earth, returning to the dark sun, Farah said excitedly, which is good because I calculated that the dark sun was in danger of becoming unstable very, very soon. We just need to roll this out in all the power plants and we're set, Farah explains. This is incredible, you say. I'm really very sorry I ever doubted you. Farah beams. Well, I learned from the best. The next year sees a string of successes for the Queen's forces as they push the Magisterians back towards the negative sea. Your strategy worked. The Magisterians spread themselves too thin in their advance, and you choked off their supply lines with a pincer attack, followed by a divide-and-conquer strategy for the stranded forces. It helped that the High Magister wasted time trying to find your sunken academy per your instructions. The Magisterian's airships are no match for your agile airships, which swarm the Magisterian dreadnoughts and fire away with their negative energy cannons until all that is left is a fine purple and black mist. Tremors throughout the kingdom intensify until finally one of the crown mountains erupts in a geyser of black and purple negative energy, completely obliterating some of the nearby hamlets and throwing black and purple gas into the sky. The mountain then goes dormant again. Brave explorers peering down into the caldera report that they think they can see the dark sun itself roiling far below. You are there in your small dining room when a courtier delivers the news to Queen Thekla. She pales and waves the courtier away. I wonder what we've done, Queen Thekla murmurs. I can't blame you entirely, Apothecary Ori. I have been complicit as well. I have been teaching myself negation magic to protect against assassination attempts. Indeed, the Queen's practice at the Royal Archer's target range is an open secret. The Queen's targets are scarecrows at 30 yards, hastily constructed because they are always consumed utterly by her blast. We've both done what was needed for the kingdom's protection. This is my fault. I shouldn't have embraced negation magic. I await your orders as always, my Queen. We've both done what we needed for the kingdom's protection. You assure the Queen that you were both doing what had to be done. Perhaps, she said ashen-faced. Excuse me, you're dismissed for the day. She gets up and retires to her chambers. You think she appreciated your support. How's that going? 90, holy. You hope after that the tremors will stop, but they don't, and every month after that, a new mountain erupts into a volcano of negative energy, destroying any nearby towns and hamlets. The dark sun is not well. Your research turns up some mentions of such disasters in the time of the ancients, especially near the end of the Great War. But the ancients, it seems, had a way of mitigating the impact of their weapons. You know not of such message. The knowledge has been lost. Who knows how bad these disasters may get? As war progresses, you begin to hear rumors that amateurs are beginning to practice magic across the kingdom, but you have no idea how bad it is until Mayor Koss comes to court to report on what has been happening in Ackerton. It's gotten rather out of hand, Koss reports to the Queen. People I never would have expected to be capable of it are now using magic and not to particularly good ends. What would have been fistfights sometimes now escalate into scorched earth magical duels thanks to the wands that our soldiers bring back from the front. Even well-meaning people feel like they have to arm themselves with the wands of negation, and those sometimes get used in haste on some who meant no harm. Of course, the squabbles have gotten a lot more common now that people are using divination magic. I think they must have learned it by watching the rituals used for broadcasting musicians across the kingdom. Now, everybody knows too much about each other, and that's quite a recipe for trouble. People aren't used to seeing each other's dirty laundry like that, you know.
In short, Akron could use your help, Kors concludes. I can hardly blame my people for trying to learn magic. I've tried to learn it myself, though I've discovered I've no aptitude for it. But we need some kind of plan that will get them to be used more responsibly. I knew the day would come, Blustered Driver Sam says sadly. He looks over to you. I suppose I should have pressed you a bit more to hold back, my friend. The Queen sighs. It would seem I have once again beholden to your judgment, Apothecary Ori. Do you have any sage advice? How would you get a fledgling wizard to detest? Support the church's message that magic is only for the holy. No. Establish magical schools around the kingdom to teach people to use magic responsibly. Maybe. Make it illegal to practice magic without the consent of the queen. No. Interference will only make things worse. No. Establish magic schools around the kingdom to teach people to use magic responsibly. We can't undo the spread of magic, you tell Mayor Kos and Queen Thekla. But we can try to do is educate them, to perhaps prevent them from killing themselves. More magic? Blessed Advisor Sam says, distressed. If that's what you think is best, Mayor Kos says uncertainly. I admit, it may have seemed uncharitable of the crown not to share its magic a bit more, Queen Thekla says. Perhaps our citizens will come up with some novel innovations that will make life better for everyone. You travel from town to town trying to teach the brightest citizens of each region how to teach magic themselves. You usually find at least one person in each region who is genuinely enthusiastic and motivated about magic, and you focus on teaching that person so that they can in turn teach others. But when you sit in on your new teacher's first classes, you find most people see magic as an imposition on their normal way of life, just one more way in which they must catch up with their neighbors or fall behind. Studying magic for these students is a chore. You can also tell some of these students are wondering what's the point of learning about the magical esoterica is when there's a war going on, especially when the magic isn't useful for fighting, and to some extent they're right. This educational push will take some time and resources away from the war. You expect to hear complaints from Hierophant Elizabeth about your decision, but instead there is silence that speaks volumes. I mean, our kingdom power is still 12. We're still pretty strong. In the capital, you choose Vera to be the head of the new Magic Academy. But I'm not old enough to be a professor, Vera protests when you inform her over dinner at a nice restaurant. You stifle a grin. To them, you'll probably seem ancient. Most teachers start in their early 20s. That's you now. As it sinks in, Vera nods. I'll try to do right by you. As the people learn about magic, they become more careful with it. Many didn't realize that divination reveals information to those who spied upon. People certainly becoming more reluctant to use the magic after that. At least the people appreciate these warnings. Your warnings about negation are often ignored, since the worst effects often happen to other people. But you think people appreciate your efforts anyway. Unfortunately, you think this has no effect on the bigger crisis facing you. The common people aren't responsible for the major disturbances in the Dark Sun. You have a sinking feeling something terrible is about to happen. One evening, you're studying a tone of negation in one of the towers Solaria, which was sunny earlier in the day, but whose skylight now only admits night, when your pet bird begins to whimper at the window. What is it, Wren? You ask the poor creature. The bird circles around you to push you towards the window in the starry night beyond. The solarium is on the high floor of the palace tower, so it's not obvious at first what your pet wants. What? You ask? And your pet seems to bawl in frustration. It headbutts you towards the window. You want me to jump out the window? Your pet looks at you pleadingly. A tremor begins to shake the floor beneath you. It doesn't stop. Maybe, just maybe, your pet is on to something. Chapter 8. The Dark Sun Awakens. Aviana eraba volanta pluma. Wings stretch from your back and you dive out the window into the night. Little Wren, the bird, awkwardly flies after you, making believe noises all the while. You soon learn how grateful you ought to be to your little pet. You land in the street in front of the palace just in time to see a giant geyser of energy erupt behind you, completely consuming the palace. The giant column of negative energy, swirling with black and purple tendrils, stands twice as tall as the palace did, and glows eerily in the night. You run to take shelter from the goblets of negative energy raining down from above. You suppose Queen Thekla must have been in the palace. At least she was spared the horrors of seeing all her faithful palace servants obliterated. Oops. Oops. You briefly wonder what Thekla's life would have been like without you. She would have still been a queen of a kingdom that had been mostly stable for thousands of years. Who would still be the single most powerful individuals on this side of the negative sea? She never could have suspected that you would prove to be her ultimate vulnerability. But then you think of the neighbors' airships and how they may well have conquered the kingdom already, were it not for your intervention. You think of how you managed to convince the queen that shapeshifters deserved a place at the kingdom's table, and the queen would have never met Tal, whose friendship with her had begun to seem more and more special.
No, you can't wish you and Thekla had never met, but you do wish it had never ended this way. You suppose Blessed Advisor Sam must have also perished in that geyser. Surely Abraxas does exist, he is one twisted deity. How do you feel that this is a result of your meddling with negation magic? This is tragic, but I also feel something new is coming. I'm a fool. Why did I think dark magic had no consequences? I just feel immensely sad. So many dead in that palace. Everyone will blame me for this, but it's the war's fault. Something new is coming. The Dark Sun awakens, the palace destroyed. You feel that this is the grand beginning as well as an end. Though you know intellectually that many have died, you also feel excitement for whatever comes next. You banish your ruminations and focus on the crisis at hand. All through the capital, similar geysers of negative energy erupting, the purple-black columns glowing into the night. Terrified screams and yells create a steady din. The smell of char and meat pervades the air. You briefly cast divination to determine the extent of the chaos. You see a vision of similar dark geysers erupting all over the kingdom. They seem to be concentrated where negative energy has been used the most, where your power plants, now all destroyed, used to stand. Near the border towns where the war has been waged, near the palace, and the old site of at the site of the sunken old academy where you discovered your magic. And especially within Acriton, where you once performed so many magical experiments, with the geysers erupting intermittently everywhere as far as your vision extends. The Dark Sun, it seems, has been agitated to the state of frenzy, but you still know how to draw negation magic. You think you might be able to end this madness by drawing all the negative energy to yourself and shoving all the chaotic energy back into the Dark Sun. You would rapidly perish, but you could start a process that would heal the Dark Sun. You also see greater opportunities, however. Why let all this negative energy go to waste? You could try to end the war immediately by shoving all this vented negative energy into the Magisterian side of the negative sea. You've never attempted anything so bold, but the negative energy flowing all around you should give you greater power than anything you've ever held, if you can wield it successfully. If you have supreme confidence in your negation abilities, you could try concentrating the negative energy into taller columns that reach the thunderclouds above and destroy them once for all. Perhaps two wrongs can make a right, and this negative energy eruption can be used to scour the heavens. You draw the negative energy into a great column around you and begin to cast what may be your final spell. My negation's pretty good. Let's try the heavens. You bend the negative energy erupting from the geysers all around into arcs that coalesce on you. The negative energy begins to swirl all around you to a cyclone that grows taller and taller, reaching towards the heavens. The smell of char is intense. As the cyclone reaches up towards the perpetual thunderheads above, it begins to be buffeted with stronger and stronger gales. You struggle to maintain control of the cyclone. Your only option is to try to control the storm as well. You raise a hand to the heavens. Partum vulgar mentunet odigos. The lightning bolt strikes your hands and you maintain it as a guide rail for the cyclone of negative energy which spirals up to the sky above. It's working, you shout to nobody in particular. It's working. The negative energy begins to eat away at the thunderheads, revealing the stars behind them for the first time in 1,000 years. Perhaps two wrongs can make a right after all. You sleep late into the morning and awaken to find the long-lost sun shining in the purple sky. You race out of your room at the inn and join the crowd that is standing dumbstruck, staring up at a clear sky they've never known. It's beautiful and bright in a way only you imagined from the oldest of ancient writings, since long before the Great War. The sky was obscured with the thunderclouds of the eternal tempest. Now, finally, you can feel the heat of a sunbeam on your face. It's heartening. Granted, you know the ancients wrote of blue skies on cloudless days, not purple. You strongly suspect the upper atmosphere is being colored by negative residue, but you don't think that should be harmful to anyone on the surface, and most people don't remember what color the cloudless sky was 2,000 years ago. Most of the people in the streets of the capital appear to be pleased when they look up at the sky. The destruction wrought by the negative energy geysers pleases no one, of course, and many people died last night. As you walk the streets, you can sense the funeral atmosphere near the large pits where geysers erupted, now collapsed so that the dark sun is no longer visible. But they too look up at the sun and smile. The passing troubadour sings a song of the battle of the suns that took place last night. How the true sun won out against the evil dark sun by letting it attack until it was spent. You suppose that might be how last night goes down in folklore, and that's all just as well. It beats having a reputation of the wizard who allowed the dark sun to run amok. A funeral is held at the capital for the heroes who perished during the negative energy disaster. A small plot in the center of the palace is reserved for Sam. Sam's headstone is inscribed with his name, and is otherwise plain. Queen Thekla has a small memorial nearby, though her family plot lies elsewhere. Thekla's memorial is strewn with white lilies, and someone has left a tiny glass figurine, a princess, in the middle of the flowers. With you are Tal, Kos, and Vera, likewise mourning the dead. You say a few words about your departed friends. Sam, you always seem too good for this world. I hope whatever you've got going for you now is what you always hoped it would be. You deserve it. Even if you sometimes had to carry out orders from the church I disagreed with, I could tell you would never let anything really bad happen to me if you could help it. I'm sorry it ended this way. Thekla, I'm sorry I let you down. I know you cared deeply about your responsibilities, and you were always willing to put the kingdom's future above your own. I suppose that's how this plays out, with you dead, but the kingdom is safe from the neighbors. You always seemed alone, and I wish I could have helped you with that somehow. It must have been hard being responsible for everyone, but having so few friends. For what it's worth, I counted you as one. Goodbye, both of you. And then, life has to move on. In the wake of the Queen's death, it is discovered that the Queen's will that you are indeed her named heir. You are crowned Monarch Ori in an elaborate coronation ceremony at the cathedral, attended by all... Hi, Hoshi. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the lurk. You are crowned Monarch Ori in an elaborate coronation ceremony in the cathedral, attended by all the most important nobles in the kingdom. Tal attends and you animate noodles before the ceremony so that there's one more pair of monkey hands clapping. As mayor of a mayor town, Kos attends wearing an orange formal uniform that makes him stand out in the crowd. His applause is enthusiastic. Hierophant Elizabeth performs much of the ceremony, looking vaguely alarmed the whole time. When you are called on to give a speech to your subjects, you tell them to expect a brighter future, and that the road to the future will be paved with magic. It's not the best metaphor, you realize, as soon as the words escape your lips, but at least it's upbeat. Indeed, you can tell there's general excitement in the air, and the people seem very ready to follow you anywhere. The Hierophant declares you monarch, and the nobles applaud. You can't quite believe it's all real, but there it is. The war with the Magisterians is brought to an abrupt halt when the Magisterians' airships all lose power due to the scouring of the Eternal Storm. They don't even have a way to cross the negative sea for another attack, since they always needed to fly over it in their airships. Eventually, Tal and Kos realize they have quite a bit in common and they become lovers. Neither is particularly thrilled with the institution of marriage, but they begin to seem inseparable. Tal begins to handle some of the duties of mayorship almost as if they were a governing family. They refer to each other as partners, and eventually you have a small ceremony that is ostensibly not a wedding where they vow commitment to each other in front of you. Though Tal never manages to get to know absolutely everybody in the way Kos did, she proves to be a capable co-mayor of Ackerton in her own right. She focuses on helping the poor find work and improving relations between the shapeshifters and humans. Thanks to you, Ackerton is a bit friendlier to shapeshifters than it might have been previously, but Tal wants to improve things further. Kos continues to be mayor of Ackerton enthusiastically, adopting magic whenever it seems it would help people. His board game about being mayor remains in flux, since every magical addition to the town requires new rules and pieces in the game. You'd think the game is getting pretty good, though. Your official endorsement of the teaching of magic does wonders for Vera's business, and she soon must hire a whole faculty of instructors. Your golem continues to be your faithful servant, helping you in every magical endeavor with an agreeable Certere Dominix. The power plants and factories that ran on negative energy all exploded during the Dark Sun's uprise, leaving large clouds of negative residue where they started. These large death clouds will continue to roam the countryside for a long time, killing the livestock of people who can't get away. Would you like to try switching the kingdom to a new source of power? Yes. Research how to create factories and airships with automation. Yeah, let's do that. Surely automation will prove more predictable than negative energy, you think. You begin to assemble research automation-driven factories, being more careful this time and thinking about safety and control. You think that in a few years' time, you'll be able to produce vehicles that rival the ones the Magisterian used in the war. You find that the ruling of the kingdom is a complex affair full of tiny decisions from day to day, but you would like to leave some lasting legacy as the ruler of Irina. What would you like to most be known for? Irina will have an amazing military strength, modernize the kingdom's infrastructure, creating a rail system running water, create an unrivaled system of public education. I lift up the poor, the weak, the needy. I lift up the poor, the weak, the needy. You do everything you can to make sure the kingdom serves those who can't help themselves, creating halfway houses, reducing taxes on the poor to nothing, reforming bankruptcy law, and protecting the poor from eviction if they can still work. It is your proudest non-magical legacy. On a whole, you make a very good ruler, aside from the fact that people rather dislike you. In the palace courtyard, you lie down on the cobblestones and look up at the stars you revealed. What are the stars? Are they intelligent sprites watching over your planet? Are they motes of magical dust left over from creation? Are they faraway places you could only visit one day? There's still much that you don't know. A young couple decides to join you, lying several feet away and looking up at the stars themselves. You suppose if you had made different decisions, you could have someone by your side right now as well. Instead of a lover, you have magic. Perhaps you love magic more than you could love any one person. You are living your dream, the greatest wizard in the world. If that isn't success, what is? Transformative end. A sea amongst the stars. I like you. Good game. No thanks. No thanks. Thanks for playing. Hell yeah. We finished it. We might have killed the queen. We might have killed Sam. We might have started a sort of mini apocalypse in the world. But we then redeemed ourselves and saved everyone. Well, most people who weren't dead from the initial small apocalypse. We did it. Which I think was a good end. I like this. I think this was really fun. We focus a lot on negation and automation. We had really good ancient history and subtlety. Our fighting was okay. We were pretty optimistic, pretty solemn, pretty calculating. We had good relationships with Tal, Cosvera, bad relationship with the church. A little bit of vilification, but our kingdom power was very strong. Bless Sam and Queen Thekla the dead. Oh well. But we tried our best, and I think it did go very, very well, in the whole. I'm gonna keep playing stuff like this. I think this is a fun thing to play, and I think for everyone it does provide something like background noise for them to be able to just kind of like talk, and for me to talk, us to converse, and also for other people. Like if you need to work on something, I think this is good for you to be able to do. Unless people are opposed to us continuing to do something like this. What I might do is I might have this take the place of coffee talk if you wanted to do something more active from time to time as well. Achievements. We have a lot of achievements. I unlocked 12 out of a possible 100 achievements. Hell yeah. Alright, hell yeah. The next one on our list that we can play, so we have choice of robots as well. We also have, made by a different group of people. Similar style of game. We have one of those as well. We have, Social Services of the Doomed. We have Spectres of the Deep, and we have the Wayhaven Chronicles Book 1. So, I'm gonna look through them, and then we'll end up deciding on what we want to do. But I think this did go very, very well, and I did like doing this quite a lot. I think we're going to start the process of rating out. I do appreciate everybody very, very much for stopping by. I'm gonna send you all over to Bobby to finish out Bobby's stream. They've been live for about an hour and a half. They're playing Dispatch.
Drink water.
Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Thank you for the hydrate very, very much. I have become it the moist. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking, and then we'll be playing Coffee Talk as well. So this will be another thing we'll continue. I'll have some discussions internally with myself to try to figure out which one of these we would like to play next. But I do appreciate everybody for stopping by. Like I said, I'm going to read you all into Bobby. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so, so much for stopping by and spending this journey with me today. If you don't want Dispatch spoilers, don't just tune in, say hi to Bobby, and then you're more than welcome to raid and run. But again, I really appreciate everybody for stopping by, and I will see all of you next time. Thank you for streaming. Thank you very, very much for stopping by, Lomon. Really, really appreciate it. So thank you. All right, you all have fun, and again, I'll see you all soon.